10 Golden Age celebrities who secretly hide disabilities and deformities. Picture this, the golden age of Hollywood, where perfection was the only currency that mattered. Every star had to be flawless, untouchable, a living dream on the silver screen. But what if I told you that behind the glittering facade, some of our most beloved icons were masters of deception, hiding physical challenges that would have ended their careers in an instant? Did you ever wonder what secrets lurked behind those perfect smiles and stunning close-ups? James Doohan. James Doohan, the man the world knew as Scotty from Star Trek, was more than just the miracle worker of the Enterprise. Behind the scenes, he was performing a different kind of magic trick every single day. Doohan was missing the middle finger on his right hand, a loss that came not from clumsiness or an accident on set, but from the chaos of history itself. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Doohan stormed Juno Beach with the Canadian forces. A burst of German machine gun fire tore into him, striking 6 times. One bullet nearly cost him his life, while another claimed his finger forever. That kind of injury could have ended not only his acting career but his confidence. Yet Doohan, forged in war, refused to let it define him. Instead, he mastered the art of concealment. Watch Star Trek closely and you'll see it. A hand slipped behind a console, a gesture timed perfectly to distract the eye, a camera angle that never lingers too long. Even in close-ups, his missing finger is almost invisible. The man who fixed warp drives on screen had been broken by war in real life, yet he turned that loss into an invisible triumph. Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper embodied the strong, silent American hero, but his silence wasn't just an acting choice. Cooper suffered from partial deafness in one ear, a condition that plagued him throughout his legendary career. Imagine trying to deliver those perfectly timed lines while struggling to hear your fellow actors or the director's instructions. Cooper developed an almost supernatural ability to read lips and body language. He would study scripts obsessively, memorizing not just his lines but everyone else's, so he could anticipate cues he might miss. His famous pauses and thoughtful delivery? Often, he was buying time to process what he'd heard or hadn't heard. The man who won 2 Academy Awards was essentially performing while partially cut off from the world around him. What makes this even more remarkable is that Cooper never used his hearing difficulty as an excuse. Instead, he channeled it into his performances, creating that legendary contemplative screen presence that made him one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck was known for her fierce independence and strong screen presence, but she was literally fighting her own body every day. Stanwyck suffered from scoliosis, a curvature of the spine that could have ended her career before it began. In an era when physical perfection was mandatory, she turned her challenge into her strength. Stanwyck worked with costume designers to create outfits that camouflaged her spinal curvature. She developed a walking style that appeared confident and commanding while actually compensating for her physical limitations. Those powerful, straight-backed poses you see in film noir classics? They were carefully calculated positions that helped her maintain the illusion of perfect posture. Her famous line delivery, often with her head held high and shoulders back, wasn't just attitude, it was adaptation. Stanwyck essentially redesigned how a leading lady could move and stand, influencing generations of actresses who had no idea they were copying techniques born from physical necessity. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was considered one of the most handsome men in Hollywood until a devastating car crash in 1956 shattered his face and nearly destroyed his career. But here's the story they don't tell you. Clift's determination to continue acting led to pioneering work in facial reconstruction and movie makeup techniques. After multiple surgeries, Clift had to relearn how to act with a partially reconstructed face. His left side was severely damaged, affecting his speech and facial expressions. Rather than retire, he worked with innovative makeup artists to develop new techniques for concealing scars and asymmetry on camera. Lighting directors had to completely reimagine how to shoot him, often favoring his right profile or using shadows creatively. The result was some of the most intense, emotionally charged performances in cinema history. Films like The Misfits showcase an actor who turned physical limitation into raw, authentic emotion. Clift's post-accident performances had a vulnerability and depth that came directly from his struggle with his changed appearance. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi gave the world its most iconic Dracula, a creature of elegance, menace, and unearthly grace. But behind that immortal performance was a mortal wound. Decades before Hollywood discovered him, Lugosi served as a soldier in World War I. A battlefield injury left him with chronic leg pain and a limp that never went away. In an era that demanded physical perfection from its stars, such a condition could have doomed his career. Instead, Lugosi turned it into legend. Watch Dracula carefully, and you'll see the brilliance of his adaptation. That slow, deliberate glide across a room wasn't just acting, it was necessity. Lugosi transformed his uneven gait into a supernatural signature, convincing audiences he wasn't walking at all, but floating. He worked with directors to stage entrances and exits with precision, using staircases, door frames, and strategically placed furniture to mask his limitation. And then there was the cape. Lugosi wielded it like a weapon, swirling it to hide his steps, draping it to shift attention away from his legs. What began as concealment became theater, defining the visual language of horror cinema itself. The monster who stalked the screen was born not of perfection, but of pain. Jean Tierney. Jean Tierney was considered one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, but behind that stunning exterior, she fought two hidden battles: bipolar disorder and partial hearing loss. In an industry that demanded perfection, Tierney became a master of emotional and physical concealment. Her hearing loss, likely caused by a childhood illness, meant she often struggled to hear direction on set or pick up lines from other actors. Tierney developed an incredible ability to read body language and facial expressions, using visual cues to time her responses perfectly. Those famous, intense close-ups weren't just beautiful, they were strategic, allowing her to focus completely on her scene partner's visual performance. The bipolar disorder added another layer of complexity. Tierney had to maintain her professional composure while managing severe emotional swings. She worked with studio doctors and developed personal techniques for staying focused during filming, even when her mental state was unstable. Her performances in films like Laura showcase an actress who channeled internal struggle into captivating screen presence. Johnny Weissmuller's Tarzan was the epitome of physical perfection, swinging through trees with seemingly effortless grace. But the man behind the loincloth was born with a clubfoot, a deformity that required surgery and years of rehabilitation. What's incredible is that Weissmuller turned this early challenge into the foundation for his athletic success. The swimming that made him an Olympic champion was originally therapeutic exercise to strengthen his corrected foot and develop better balance. By the time he reached Hollywood, Weissmuller had transformed his body so completely that he could perform his own stunts and swimming scenes with apparent ease. The Tarzan films were shot to showcase his swimming and upper body strength while carefully avoiding shots that might reveal any remaining foot irregularity. Underwater scenes, vine swinging, and tree climbing all served to display his strengths while concealing his original physical challenge. Weissmuller literally swam his way from disability to becoming one of cinema's most iconic action heroes. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford was the embodiment of Hollywood glamour. Razor-sharp cheekbones, eyes like searchlights, and a presence that could silence a room. But even she had a secret to hide. Behind the gowns, the poses, and the carefully cultivated image, Crawford was said to have unusually large feet, rumored to be a size 11, even described by some as slightly deformed. In the golden age of Hollywood, beauty was engineered down to the smallest detail, and dainty, delicate feet were considered a mark of femininity. For Crawford, whose career depended on projecting perfection, those feet could have been a fatal flaw. Instead of surrendering, she became a strategist. She worked with custom shoemakers to design footwear that slimmed and disguised. She developed a way of walking that shifted the audience's gaze upward, toward her expressive hands, her sweeping shoulders, her commanding eyes. Even her iconic poses, with legs draped just so, fabric cascading in calculated folds, were weapons of concealment as much as displays of elegance. Crawford turned insecurity into innovation, rewriting the blueprint for female stars. In doing so, she proved that glamour isn't about flawless features, it's about the power to make flaws disappear in the spotlight. Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre never looked like a conventional Hollywood leading man, and that was his greatest weapon. His wide, searching eyes, his unusual facial symmetry, the way his presence seemed to crawl under your skin, it all traced back to a glandular disorder that shaped his appearance. What some might have seen as a defect, Hollywood turned into a brand. His bulging eyes and unsettling expressions gave audiences the impression of menace, mystery, even madness. When he played the child killer in M 1931, or the scheming conspirators in The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca, his face did half the work before he even spoke. But here's the brilliance. Lore didn't shrink from his condition. He leaned into it. He collaborated with directors to frame his eyes in shadow, to linger on his strange expressions, to make every moment unforgettable. Unlike other stars who worked tirelessly to hide imperfections, Lorre transformed his into an artistic advantage. His look became shorthand for danger and psychological complexity, something no makeup artist could invent. Peter Lorre proved that Hollywood's obsession with perfection could be broken if you were bold enough to turn your difference into your destiny. Harold Lloyd. Harold Lloyd wasn't just a comedian. He was a daredevil in a bowler hat, the man who made audiences gasp and laugh in the same breath. His most famous image is burned into film history, dangling from the hands of a giant clock high above a city street. What most people never realized was that he was doing it all while missing 2 fingers on his right hand. The accident happened in 1919 during a publicity photo shoot. A prop bomb handed to Lloyd turned out to be a live explosive. It detonated in his hand, tearing away his thumb and index finger and nearly ending both his career and his life. For another actor, it might have been the curtain call. For Lloyd, it was the beginning of an even greater act. He commissioned a custom prosthetic glove designed to mimic the look of a normal hand and trained himself to grip, climb, and balance with a permanent handicap. Every rooftop chase, every ledge he scaled was essentially performed one-handed, hidden beneath the illusion of comedy. Lloyd turned tragedy into legend. Behind every laugh, every gasp from the audience, was a man who refused to let loss define him. These 10 stars didn't just overcome their challenges, they transformed them into the very foundations of their legendary careers. They rewrote the rules of Hollywood perfection, proving that greatness comes not from flawlessness, but from the courage to turn limitation into strength. Their secrets weren't weaknesses, they were superpowers hidden in plain sight. Which of these revelations shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if these hidden stories amazed you, and subscribe for more untold tales from Hollywood's Golden Vault. Remember, behind every perfect performance lies an imperfect human being, and that's what makes them truly extraordinary. Until next time, keep looking behind the curtain.